Meeting to order. If we could all please stand. And Ms. Garcia, will you do us the honor of the Pledge of Allegiance? I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. May we have a roll call, please?
Ms. Phillip?
Here.
Ms. Garcia?
Here.
Ms. Keys?
Here.
Mr. Mardi?
Here.
Mr. Mondesir?
Present.
Thank you.
Okay. And Ms. Martin, would you do the announcement?
Good evening and welcome to the Board of Adjustment meeting. When your case is called, please come to the microphone and state your name and address. Staff will make its presentation first, after which you will have an opportunity to address the board.
Thank you. And because this is quasi-judicial items, issues that we will be hearing tonight, and our attorney will administer the oath.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Anyone desiring to speak this evening, please stand. Raise your right hand. Anyone? Except for attorneys, maybe, perhaps, representing Ms. Lucart? Okay, you don't have to take the. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you provide is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? Thank you. You may be seated.
All right. Do we have any amendments to the agenda?
No.
Okay. Any communications? Well, let's have an approval of the minutes from December 19th.
Move. Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All right. And no communications. Continue petitions?
There are none.
All right. All right. Then we will hear the first case, which is V-1-13, Helena Guess. 13300 West Dixie Highway.
It is my desire to open a
Oh, wait a
Point of
second.
order. I'm sorry to break in like that. Please state your name and address for the record. Thank you.
13300 West Dixie Highway.
Okay, thank you. And Ms. Martin, would you explain?
Yes, this is a petition for special exception use pursuant to Article 4, Section 4-302 and Article 3, Section 3-504 of the Land Development Regulations to allow a funeral home in the C1 district. Staff recommends approval of the petition with the following conditions. 1, the large pothole in the last parking space in the rear is repaired. 2, the missing or broken car stops are repaired and replaced. 3, the flowering shrubbery along Northeast 9th Avenue is filled in to comply with Article 3, Section 3-504D, which requires suitable fencing or landscaping adjacent to residential zoning districts. And 4, the above conditions shall be satisfied within 90 days of the date of approval. The applicant wishes to occupy 1,863 square feet of space in a standalone building on West Dixie Highway for the purpose of a funeral home. The applicant is a licensed funeral director whose business will consist of the sale of burial and cremation merchandise, counseling and funeral arrangement services, and viewings and memorial services. There are 2 rooms proposed for viewing and services, one of which is 432 square feet and the other 180 square feet. The larger room will be used for the larger groups of up to 20 people. The smaller room will be used for very small groups, such as where there will only be immediate family in attendance. The proposed hours of operation are Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. and Saturday from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. and occasionally in the evenings. The parking requirement required for a funeral home is 1 space per 100 square feet of chapel and/or parlor area. The proposed chapel and parlor area is 612 square feet. Therefore, the required parking is 6 spaces. The property contains 16 on-site spaces. It is staff's opinion that since funeral homes are permitted by special exception in the C1 district, they are deemed to be an appropriate use in the district. In addition, there is adequate parking on the site to accommodate the use, and with the conditions imposed, the property will be in full compliance with the standards set forth in Article 3, Section 3-504 for the issuance of a special exception.
You done? All right. Ms. Guest, would you like to add anything to your application? Anything you'd like to add?
No, basically, Ms. Joanne, she covered most of it. Just as she said, there would be off-site for any type of preparation or anything of that matter, just mostly for viewings, visitations.
And you've read and understand the conditions that are set?
Yes, Madam Mayor. Yes,
Okay.
ma'am. Yes, ma'am,
Is
I do.
there anyone would like to speak for or against this item? All right. Any board discussion?
I have a couple questions. Do you intend to ever have any services during the evening hours after 5 o'clock?
Basically, just as I went over with Ms. Joanne, we strongly encourage our families when they're doing religious gatherings to take it to some sort of community center or church setting. Usually when it's non-traditional, when people are just basically just want to put closure, then we'll probably do things there, but it will be sporadic. It will not be, scheduled every single weekend. This is what will transpire.
Okay. On your letter of intent, it says there would not be any storage of human remains at the location. So that means if a service is happening during the evening hours, the deceased would be moved that same evening, or are they going to stay there overnight?
That is correct. They will be moved immediately, probably within the hour, to another facility that I've contracted to take care of storage and refrigeration. They will not remain overnight.
Okay.
Ms. Keys?
You have adequate parking under our laws, but you have 16 parking spaces. If you have a large, funerals will be held there, right?
We would prefer to say religious gatherings
Religious
because
gatherings.
people are non-traditional now. They,
Okay, but you have this. Whoops. You have a viewing area. I was just trying to figure out what was. You have 2 viewing areas.
Yes, ma'am,
and
that's
then
correct.
people go into the main chapel to do a service of some sort.
They will go in there to pay homage to their loved ones. Maybe someone will speak for 10 or 15 minutes. If there's any clergy, they would give a prayer, something of that nature.
So
And
if there was a large gathering, where would the overflow parking go? That's bottom line.
basically, I would not accommodate gatherings that will be in excess of the space that we have available. In other words, if a family informs me that they're expecting a large gathering, a large crowd, just as I said before, I'm going to move that service to a church setting, a community setting, a banquet, someone other than that particular area, simply because of, the allotted space.
Okay.
And the overflow. I would not have it there. It
Thank
wouldn't
you.
accommodate.
Mr. Leonard, do you have any other type of service like that offering somewhere else?
I've been a licensed funeral director. I've been in the field now for 12 years, and I do have different churches in the community that we work closely with that allow us to do whatever, the family requests at their facility. Right now, I'm working with a family-owned, family-operated establishment, which I'm an extended family member, and just basically branching out on my own right now.
He actually pretty touched on my question. Are you relocating from a previous site?
Right now, as I said, I'm working with my own family, my biological family, and just branching out into another location. The firm that I am established with now, we've been around for 54 years. We're third generation. We're very experienced, and we're very knowledgeable in the field. So we're basically branching out into, you may want to say, a second location. We're just expanding, so to speak.
What name are you going to be operating under?
Trinity Funeral Homes.
So should this exception, this question for staff, should this exception be under Trinity Funeral Homes or under her personal name?
Well, I don't think they were established under Florida Division of Corporations at this time, so I didn't know if that name was set in stone or not.
They are registered as Trinity Funeral Coach Service. Does that ring a bell?
Trinity Funeral Coach is a livery service which I established in January of 2008. As I said, it's a livery service. We offer funeral coaches, funeral vehicles. This establishment will be Trinity Funeral Home, which I registered, I want to say, the end of January. Okay. Trinity Funeral Homes, LLC is already...
As of my search today, which I like to do a search prior to coming to these hearings, I could not find the registration. However, you're free to make that a condition. Obviously, the entity would have to be registered with the state of Florida prior to opening up this at this location.
Any other
More discussion.
discussion?
I still have problem with the 20 parking space. Because knowing what a funeral service may be, 20 parking space, one of the issues.
Ms. Martin, what's the closest municipal parking space, parking area to this location? Where overflow could go, other than going into the surrounding residences?
I don't think there's no municipal parking around there. They do have about 3 extra spots, a paved swale area, and a driveway that's gated off, but for instance, the funeral director could park in the driveway. The thing is, the rooms are so small,
Yeah,
and they're going to have a maximum occupancy.
20.
So it would be impossible, I mean, kind of, to have so many people there.
Well, let me ask, if I may, just because I've seen in other establishments such as this, they do have, let's say, a guard or someone to assist in terms of directing traffic in case. Is that something that you are considering?
Mayor, anytime that I schedule a viewing and visitation, unfortunately, it's become a necessity. We must have people out there to assist our patrons. And anytime the visitation starts, there's an armed guard that I already contract with that stays in the parking lot throughout the entire evening for that very purpose.
Okay, thank you. Any other discussion, question? Would anyone like to make a motion?
Make a motion to approve the special exception, subject to staff's recommendations, and also provided that the applicant, if you're going to be operating under an entity, that the entity is valid, formed, and properly licensed.
Once again, I really don't know why it's not showing, but I do have copies of my article of incorporation that I can submit to Ms. Joanna in the morning.
No problem. Just part of the requirement.
Yes, I don't know why it's not showing.
I second the motion.
Roll call, please.
Ms. Phillip,
Yes.
Ms. Garcia,
Yes.
Ms. Keys,
Yes.
Mr. Marty,
Yes.
Mr. Mondesir.
Yes.
Thank you. Ma'am, you've been approved by this board. And your case, well, I guess once they're approved, that is it. It's my first time being chair, so bear with me.
Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Wonderful.
Okay.
Thank
And good
you.
luck.
Thank you so very much. Thank you all.
Georgette, is that all
Alright.
yeses?
Next case, V-2-13 SF Berkshire LLC, 12255 Northeast 135th Street.
Good evening, I'm Barbara Lukart from Phelps Dunbar representing the applicant. And this is Janelle Shepard. She is the an administrator of Berkshire Manor.
Ms. Martin?
This is a petition for special exception use pursuant to Article 4, Section 4-202, and Article 3, Section 3-504 of the Land Development Regulations to allow a nursing home in the R5 district. Staff recommends approval of the petition for special exception to allow the continued use of the property as a nursing home with the following conditions. 1, that the large parking area to the rear is restriped so that the individual parking spaces are visible. 2, that the concrete wall along the north and west property lines is cleaned, repaired, and painted on both sides. 3, that a landscape plan is submitted for upgrades to the existing conditions in order to comply with existing landscape regulations as well as the original site plan. 4, that the chain link fencing abutting the residential uses along the western property lines, some of which is in very poor condition, be replaced with a vinyl fence or Dura fence in order to provide the required screening. 5, that the large tree adjacent to the residential use and overhanging the entire roof is trimmed or removed, and the large stump in the same area is grinded down or removed. 6, that the large dumpster off 135th Terrace is relocated to the rear of the main building, or a dumpster enclosure is erected to screen the dumpster in a location recommended by sanitation staff as required by code. And 7, that the above conditions are satisfied within 180 days of the date of approval. The applicant is requesting a special exception to allow the continued use of the property as a nursing home. Since the special exception does not run with the land as a variance does, the change in business ownership tenancy requires that the applicant be issued a special exception use to their company. A recent transaction regarding the sale of the property and documentation regarding the fact that a certificate of use was required for the operation of the business brought to light that there had been a change in business ownership tenancy. The original special exception use was issued in 1967 with an addendum in 1968. Both a landscaping variance and a 13-space parking variance were granted. The current land development regulations require 1 parking space per bedroom. Since there are 87 bedrooms, 87 parking spaces would be required. There are currently 79 spaces on the property, and since there was a 13-space variance granted, the property is in compliance with the current parking requirements. The subject property is nearly 3 acres, and the total building square footage is approximately 47,000. The facility contains 87 bedrooms of 1, 2, 3, and 4 beds per room, as well as supporting rooms and offices. The bedrooms range in size from 110 square feet for a single bedroom to 360 square feet for a room with 4 beds. Nursing homes, which provide short and long-term skilled nursing care as well as rehabilitation, are licensed and regulated by the state of Florida. The most recent inspection by the state resulted in a rating of 4 stars, with 5 stars being the highest rating. The site plan layout appears to be substantially the same as the site plan from the city's microfilm records that was dated in 1970. It is staff's opinion that since nursing homes are permitted by special exception in the R5 district, they are deemed to be an appropriate and compatible use in the district. With the conditions imposed, the property will be in compliance with the standards specified in Article 3, Section 3-504 for the issuance of the special exception. The standards are that the use is listed as a special exception, which it is. There is adequate provision for access facilities adequate for the estimated traffic from public streets and sidewalks. There is adequate access to the property, that there are adequate parking areas and off-street loading spaces. We previously addressed the parking. There's adequate parking. There is suitable landscaping or fencing along side and rear lot lines adjacent to residential uses or zoning districts. There are some lot lines adjacent to residential uses that do not have suitable landscaping or fencing. Staff has addressed those issues in placing the conditions on the special exception approval and will work with the applicant on those areas in question. The proposed special exception is reasonable in terms of the extension of public services, and the special exception should constitute an appropriate use in the area and not substantially injure or detract from the use of the surrounding property or the character of the neighborhood. The use is deemed to be an appropriate use in the area, and if the property is maintained, should not substantially injure or detract from the use of the surrounding property or the character of the neighborhood. And also you have in the packet their floor plan layout and their a copy of the survey, which shows all the buildings and parking and whatnot.
Thank you. Would you like to add?
Ms. Martin hit on all the points. We just wanted to say that we believe between the application and the backup documents and then the conditions that you've imposed, which Ms. Martin walked us through today on the site, we understand what you'd like to have done. It's in full compliance with Article 3, Section 504 of the requirements for the special use. The only question we had is if the only question that they had was if there's if there's a permit delay or a casualty or something in 180 days is. We've been trying to get everything finished. Is there an avenue to come back and say, can we have a little bit more time if something?
Yeah, I think we could have the discretion to do that if they've been working on things and whatnot, because it is a lot of work. You have to get estimates, you have to get permits for stuff, you know.
So we're just seeking to continue the existing use of the nursing home. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
All right.
I have one.
Hold on, please. Let the record reflect that Mr. McDermott has joined us. And before I entertain any board discussion, let me open it up. Is there anyone in the audience who wish to speak in favor or against this item? Didn't think so. All right. Now, Ms. Garcia.
Thank you.
The one thing that's always bothered me about this facility for as long as I've lived in North Miami is the small amount of green space. I look at the facility on 125th Street, which is not yours, and the amount of green space available to the residents is huge. And this place is a lot smaller. Has there been any, have you looked into, and then mind you, this may not have any bearing on whether we approve this or not, but quality of life, has there been any look into adding more green space to this building, this facility?
Have you seen the side yard, the one we're out today?
I live exactly 6 blocks from here. I've seen this place a lot. This is like my neighborhood.
There's lots of green space on the north,
South side.
Yeah, the south
There's a very
side.
large yard there.
Huge,
Okay.
huge green space.
When I compare it to the other people, it doesn't seem that huge. But
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
I know, not you, but I'm just thinking about, my grandmother lives in an assisted living facility, and the place, we picked the place she's at because ginormous amounts of green space.
And part of the landscaping requirements is adding, there's some landscaping that was on the original site plan that has come out because it's where the cars were. I mean, it's going to be nicer looking for the landscaping, but as far as the green space, there's that very big area outside, and that's going to be improved by the new fence.
Okay.
And there's some tables out there and some cover.
Okay. That's my only question.
Anyone else?
Yeah, question. How soon do you guys plan on submitting a landscape plan?
Within the next couple of weeks, because we want to go ahead and get this started. Yes.
And Joanne, it'll go to your department. You guys will approve it?
Yeah, we might take it to Parks.
Take it to Parks.
Yeah, there's not a whole lot of like new landscaping that needs to be installed. I told them they didn't need to get an architect or anything, just somebody that knows plans and can draw a plan, and probably do some xeriscape, some bush some shrubbery that doesn't require a whole lot of water because they're on city water. So for them to, obviously they're not going to water 3 times a week.
Right.
If they got city water. So
I don't blame them. I don't water 3 times a week.
Ms. Martin walked us around and showed us what she'd like the hedges and gave us some ideas and said we don't need a landscape architect, but to bring it, we could show what's proposed and bring her by before.
actually, the fencing is the bigger issue. It's a lot of fencing they need to install, to buffer all those residential properties around there.
Mr. Margie, did you have something?
Let's say they got approved tonight, and those conditions are not satisfied. What would be action?
Well, we're going to issue their certificate of use because, they need to get one. They've changed ownerships and they haven't been able to get one yet. So we're going to issue them the certificate of use, and then we give them 180 days to comply with all of this. If they have a problem, I think it's okay. We can give a little flexibility, a little more time, or what have you. So, but they seem perfectly amenable to doing all of this, and it is a lot, but it'll make the neighborhood look so much better, especially on 135th Terrace.
How long more days you guys think you might need out? Longer than 130 days?
Hopefully none.
Hopefully, okay.
Yeah. And one of the reasons that question came up was because the landscaping, without actually being here and looking at it and walking around and seeing what was required, didn't know how much time that was going to take.
And I just have a couple of questions if there's no one else. And it may not have any bearing, but do you guys still own Fountainhead? Because I know that one used to be Meadowbrook.
Right.
And Fountainhead is on 135th and off North Miami Avenue.
Yes.
So is it still connected?
Yes.
Okay.
Oh, just one more thing, just to put your mind at ease, Mr. Marty. We do also have the authority to revoke a certificate of certificate of use once it's been issued, which is not the norm. But actually, we did revoke one on a business recently.
Also, the special exception will contain language indicating that it will be void, null and void, if the conditions are not ultimately satisfied.
Okay.
So they
Not
wouldn't
well
want to do
done.
that.
Okay.
Any other discussion? Okay. Can someone make a...
Can I make a motion to
Go
approve
ahead.
it?
I'll second.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right,
Thank
roll
you.
call.
Ms. Phillip,
Yes.
Ms. Garcia,
Yes.
Ms. Keys,
Yes.
Mr. Marty,
Yes.
Mr. McDermott,
Yes.
Mr. Mondesir.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Congratulations, you've been approved, and good luck. Let's hope 180 days.
Thank you.
All right. Next case, V3-13, J&D Chandler Academy Corporation, 891 Northeast 125th Street.
Josette Chandler, 891 Northeast 125th Street, North Miami 33161.
All right. And
Okay,
Shirley
this
Lewis.
is. Oh, sorry.
Shirley Lewis, Jane D. Chandler Academy, 891 Northeast 125th Street.
okay. Ms. Martin?
Okay, this is a petition for special exception use pursuant to Article 4, Section 4-302, and Article 3, Section 3-504 of the Land Development Regulations to allow a special technical school in the C3 district. Staff recommends approval with the following conditions: that car stops are installed on the 4 parking spaces in the rear of the building according to code within 90 days of approval, that all existing and future parents and students are notified in writing by the applicant that for safety reasons and compliance with city regulations, the alleyway is not to be used for the drop-off or pickup of students, And 3, that all staff members of the school park in the municipal parking areas in order to allow for the spaces in the rear of the building to be used for drop-off and pickup. The applicant is requesting the special exception to allow an educational tutoring service in all subjects for children in grades 3 to 12, as well as language classes for adults. The applicant was previously approved to operate the school at a location on West Dixie Highway, but encountered problems with the building and has relocated. The proposed location has 1,150 square feet of storefront space on Northeast 125th Street. The applicant intends on having 2 classes of up to 15 students each during the busiest afternoon hours. The days and hours of operation will be Monday through Saturday from 9 a.m. to 7 p.m. The morning hours will be primarily for private tutoring or small groups of adults, and the afternoon and evening hours will focus on the school-aged children. Based on the square footage occupied, the required parking for the school is 6 spaces, as 1 space is required for each 200 square feet of floor area. Although on-site parking is very limited, this location is within the parking exempt zone due to the availability of municipal parking within the area, and therefore no parking variance is required. It is staff's opinion that since special technical schools are permitted by special exception in the C3 district, they are deemed to be an appropriate and compatible use in the district. In addition, there is municipal parking in the area northwest of the school if needed, and the property is in compliance with the standards specified in Article 3, Section 3-504.
Ladies, anything to add?
Everything was well said by Joanne. I just want to add that as a certified teacher, I earned a Bachelor of Business Administration and a Master of Science in Education. And Miss Lewis is a teacher at Miami Edison Senior High School. She is my assistant. And we have business in North Miami since 3 years. The demand is booming, and this is the reason we are requesting this special exception.
All right. Is there anyone in the audience who would like to speak for or against?
Yes, I would like to say I support the special exemption because of what I'm seeing going on at the school. As a teacher,
Please speak into the mic. I'm sorry. Go
as a
ahead.
teacher, I can tell you right now we have a lot of immigrants in South Florida, and a lot of them have language barrier, and you need that place, and they feel comfortable, and I'm happy to leave my job in the afternoon and come there and give my service. And we have other students that would like to join us and second that option. Yes.
My name is Kinski Jr. I have 3 children with her. She does a pretty good job with my kids. You know, they have little problems, and then she goes above and beyond to help the students. And sometimes, you know, we can't get my kids can't get the work done, and she'd say, "Come to my house. Come to a little later. We'll stay a little later and get the kids help." So she needs the help, and if you can help her, because she helps the kids.
Please provide your address just before you leave. Just provide your address.
My address is 14570 Northwest 15th Drive, a little off from North Miami. All right.
Okay.
Can you stand up?
Javinsky, Kevin, and Dushan.
Kevin actually is in 8th grade now, but he was my student in 4th grade when I was teacher at St. James Catholic School.
I can't hear. Speaking to the mic,
To the mic, please.
Excuse me, we have Christopher, student at Jane D. Chandler Academy, would like to come forward and say something, please.
Okay. My experience in the my name is Christopher Sonat. My address is 470 Northwest 109th Street 33168. I have a good experience in the J&D Chandler Academy because Miss Chandler, the president of the J&D Chandler Academy, she has taught me a lot about math, especially math, because I used to have bad grades, but now I have a lot of good grades. And Miss Lewis, my reading teacher, I used to have a lot of bad grades, but now my grades are going up to a B and to an A. And I just want to thank them for all they did for me. Thank you. And I have been with them for 3 years, almost.
And we deserve not only public school, but also private school. Yes, from St.
Please speak into the mic.
Yeah, say your name.
My name is Kaya Joseph. Michelle JD Academy helps me because before I used to get a lot of B's, but now I'm getting all straight A's. Since the time I've been there, I haven't ever seen an F.
That's great.
What's your address, dear?
1101 Northeast 154 Terrace.
All right. All right, there. Anything else? Okay. Board discussion?
I have a question. The floor plan, I only see one bathroom. Is that something that's acceptable, or should there be two separate restroom facilities? One for girls, one for boys? That's a question for staff, not for you guys. I'm sorry.
I think you can have one if it's ADA acceptable, accessible.
The
I don't know,
dimensions?
that's kind of a building code requirement.
Right. I don't think the dimensions fit ADA, especially if that's where the single stall is.
I'm not really sure. Do you remember, Georgette? Because she's required to have two bathrooms.
She's not required to have two bathrooms, but they still have to be ADA.
The one has to be ADA.
Compliant. Compliant, yeah.
Do you know if it is?
Does your bathroom meet the minimum standards for the Americans with Disabilities Act?
No.
We don't have any idea.
We don't have any student with special
Doesn't matter if you
disability,
don't
but
have
has to
them.
be.
It still
Yeah,
has to be accessible. It still has to meet the requirements.
And we have an empty room that when
storage.
the storage room that when she came, she told me she's gonna have that as a second plan to use it as a bathroom. That's what we did when we were on West Dixie Highway. We are the one that built the second bathroom. So this is not gonna be an issue if we have to be in compliance.
They just need to open this up.
You can propose that it be ADA compliant as a, if need be, as part of the special exception approval process.
Are you currently operating in the building, or have you moved everything over there?
Yeah, since in January.
Since January.
Oh, she's got a certificate of use for personal instruction where she can do 5 or less kids at
Okay.
once.
So she wants to do more. The lunchroom that you have set up, there's on the floor plan. There's like a scribbly line. Is that one of those doors that you pull open and close like a big blind or accordion? Thank you.
We have
Is that an accordion or?
We have a divider.
It's a divider.
And
there's-
actually, kids don't eat because they come for 75 minutes. Okay.
Okay.
But just on kids.
So this is staff lunchroom where the staff heats up their food and stuff.
Yeah.
And there's no way a child could get in there and burn
yeah,
themselves.
for them also.
I'm a mom. I ask these questions.
Of course, you can ask them. Yeah,
Oh, there's no cooking equipment in there.
But no cooking.
Right, but it's only a microwave. There's no hot stove or hot plate or anything?
No.
Okay.
Anything like that.
I don't have any more questions for now.
Those were good questions.
Thank you.
Anyone else?
Have you been made aware of the requirements of staff, and you're okay to accept these about the car stops and
I'm aware
The
of that.
conditions.
and notifying the parents of the
Yeah.
drop-offs? And
Yeah.
Actually, I started using it myself, using the parking we have and behind the clinic.
Exactly.
Yeah.
We are aware of that.
That's the
and
staff
we
members
agree.
using municipal, but you need to notify the parents about the drop-off. The alley is not to be used for drop-off or pickup of students.
Yes, will be
So-
done by tomorrow.
So where will the drop-off be?
Actually, they've been using, since we opened, they've been using the bag for drop off and pick up student. Nobody used the front door.
But it says, is that the alleyway?
Yes.
But, Ms. Martin, you're saying that they should not be using the alleyway.
Exactly, but
Right.
we have the municipal parking.
Right.
Right now.
Maybe she means if they pulled up. But when I was with Josette, I went out and I showed her what I meant. That, you know, the actual alleyway, they can't stop and let the kids out. Or, well, they wouldn't pick them up. They'd have to go inside and get them anyway, because the kid's not going to know they're out there. But, you know, I could
be waiting
envision some people just stopping in the alley and dropping off the kids. That's why I said to her, you have to compose a letter and give it to all of them and all the new students and tell them that that is not allowed. They got to pull in a space and bring them in.
Okay.
Do you have any children walking to your facility from the surrounding elementaries or middle schools or high schools?
We have only two. They go to Miami, not Miami, senior high school. They are 10th graders.
Okay.
Mr. McGimmon?
To staff. Is part of your recommendation for approval that they only be limited to 2 classes of 15? I see here it's intended to be, is 1,100 feet is not a lot of square feet.
Well, yeah, that we discussed that because she's gonna have a maximum occupancy also. Actually, it looks pretty big in there. They might just let her have 2 rooms of 15. Because to me it looks pretty big in there. But I mean, the fact of the matter is she doesn't have that now. But I always tell them, you ask for the maximum that you think you would have, number of students, or to state, the maximum that could possibly be there. Not that you're giving her approval for a certain number of students, but to let people know that this is your intent. Should it happen, should there be a larger demand that. But I could see, based on looking at it, that it's quite possible that she would get an occupancy for that many people in there. It's all, open and whatnot.
Suppose there's a greater demand.
Well, by law, she's not supposed to go over her occupancy rating, which is for all people in the building. Not just students, but teachers too. I'm sure she knows that, right, Josette? Yeah.
Yes, I do.
So she's in the process of, I was explaining to her how to go about getting her occupancy, because it has to be posted for the inspector when he comes. You have to go to an architect, either bring your floor plan or they do a letter for you, they sign and seal it.
Okay, thank you.
I know that you were on West Dixie where the banner, what was it, the flag or the banner lady was?
Flag lady?
Okay. It didn't work out for you.
It worked, but unfortunately, it was very unsafe for my students. Okay, this is the problem.
Okay.
Because, every other week, okay, I had to deal with...
Some people break inside and break the windows and steal stuff
We
inside.
couldn't see it was Steve, so...
Yeah, so...
Who did?
Yeah, that's
I
a couple
cannot
of
tell you,
times,
but
yes. So
and I had to call police, so it was not possible.
All right.
And then she was told she had to repair the building
Yeah,
by the landlord.
I was told, yes.
Okay.
Madam Chairman? I'd like to make a motion to approve.
Go ahead. Any
I
second?
second.
I'd actually like the motion to include the requirement that the bathroom is made ADA compliant.
If necessary.
if applicable, and that would also require cooperation by the property owner, because they're not the property owner. So that's an issue to deal with the property owner.
And I also believe when it comes to ADA requirement, if you're grandfathered in, if it's not any new construction or you're remodeling, it's an existing bathroom, you're not required to.
Right, so it may not even be, that's why I'm saying if applicable. Yeah.
Yeah, but it's a change of use. I think she's going to have to do it if it's required.
If then it's done. But I say that because they're not the property owner. So
Right.
with the caveat that it's a good faith effort. If there's any issue surrounding that, it will be an issue that would be inherited by the property owner, not the tenant.
Okay. I accept the amendment to the motion if applicable. Okay.
I second again.
All right, roll call, please.
Ms. Phillip,
Yes.
Ms. Garcia,
Yes.
Ms. Keys,
Yes.
Mr. Marty,
Yes.
Mr. McDermott,
Yes.
Mr. Montezir.
Yes.
Thank you. Perfect.
Ladies, you've been approved. Congratulations. Let's hope this place works out better for you.
Can I just say that I'm very impressed with all the young men who came to speak for you? It's very hard to get in front of a crowd, especially when we're taller than you, and speak. You all did very well.
All right. Our next case, V-4-13, Jerry Scher, I hope I'm saying it right, MD, and Philip Losman, MD, 2286 Northeast 123rd Street. Oh, if I knew I was in the elevator with two doctors coming up. Oh, it hurts. Oh, psychologist. No, forget that.
Maybe even better.
You might want to leave a few cards.
Yes.
You want to state your name and address?
My name is Dr. Jerry Scher. This is my partner, Dr. Philip Losman, and our address is 2286 Northeast 123rd Street, North Miami 33181.
Okay, this is a petition for variance to Article 6, Section 6-303, to allow the expansion of a non-conforming structure in the C2BE district. Staff recommends approval of the petition for variance to allow the expansion with the condition that a landscaping plan reflecting the necessary upgrades to comply with the land development regulations and staff's recommendations is submitted to staff for review and approval in conjunction with the plans for remodeling. Article 6, Section 6-303 states that no nonconforming structure may be enlarged or altered in a way which increases its nonconformity. The applicant wishes to enclose the covered terrace of the building to provide more building floor area. Since the required side yard setback in the C2BE district is 10 feet, but the existing building was constructed with a 0-foot side setback on the west side, the building is deemed nonconforming. The effect of enclosing the covered terrace, which also has a 0-foot setback, is deemed to be enlarging or altering a nonconforming structure in a way which increases its nonconformity. The applicant purchased the property with the intent on operating as orthopedic medical practice, but requires some additional square footage. By enclosing the covered terrace, he gains an additional 1,077 square feet of floor area. The width of the covered terrace is 9.5 feet at the north end of the building, and that's wrong. North end at the west, at the northwest end of the building, almost 10 feet at the center, and 5 feet along the east side of the building. The required parking for a medical office is 1 space per 300 square feet of gross floor area. Therefore, the proposed enlarged building requires 16 spaces. The proposed parking layout will provide at least 18 spaces and there are 2 off-street parallel parking spaces on the east side of the property, in addition to the 18. It is staff's opinion that the requested variance is minimal considering the existing established setback. In addition, the expansion of the nonconforming structure is logical and feasible and will not negatively impact the adjacent property. Special conditions exist which are peculiar to the land and building, as the building was originally constructed in 1984 and the land development regulations allowed for a 0-foot interior side setback. Therefore, both the building and the roof terrace were constructed at the 0-foot setback. Furthermore, the zoning districts and setbacks were changed in 2009. The conditions necessitating the variance are not unique to the property and are prevalent in the neighborhood. Since all of the properties on the south side of 123rd Street are and were zoned the same, many were constructed with a 0-foot interior side setback and abut one another. The requested variance maintains the basic intent and purpose of the LDRs as it affects the appearance of the building and the neighborhood in general. It would not look as good aesthetically if the porch were enclosed only to the point of the required 10-foot setback. The literal interpretation of the LDRs would not deprive the applicant of rights enjoyed by other properties in the sense that no other property owner has requested or been granted a similar request. However, this property was not maximized as others in the area, in the commercial area, were in the past. The variance requested is the minimum variance that will make possible the reasonable use of the building, and the granting of the variance will be in harmony with the general intent and purpose of the LDRs, which is to ensure overall good development, and the variance will not be injurious to the adjacent property or the area.
Thank you. Gentlemen, would you like to add anything to your case?
I think Ms. Martin covered on most of the salient points. We have 2 offices, and we had purchased this property to consolidate our orthopedic practice in North Miami. We found that it was a ideal location for our current practice. Our intent all along was to actually beautify the building and hopefully incorporate the roof-covered porch to give us a little bit of added square footage to allow for adequate reception areas and examination rooms and offices to conduct our practice. Ms. Martin had mentioned landscaping upgrades. That was our intent all along, to make the space and the property pretty. There's some burnt out shrubs along the perimeter, which we had intended all along to upgrade as well.
Thank you. Is there anyone in the audience for or against? Hearing none. Board discussion, Ms. Keys?
Right now you have a nice covered walkway there. Will there be any kind of sidewalk in front of the building, or is that all going to be removed?
I'm going to let my partner answer that because he always wanted to be an architect, and he went to school in the wrong building.
And I always walk there, so let me know.
Yeah, the way it's designed is so there's an entrance walkway so that patients who park in the parking lot actually can enter through a small porte-cochere versus a sidewalk itself. So there'll be the space in front of the addition, in front of the parking stops for walkways, and there'll also be an entranceway for the patients to come in that's covered in case it's raining.
But there won't be a walk.
There won't be a specific sidewalk in front of the space. It's going to be the space in front of the parking stops.
I want a sidewalk. Please.
Well, we're the last building.
Pardon me?
We're the last building.
I know. I walk there all the time.
Oh, do you?
I walk over, and then I don't like walking on 123rd Street because to me it's dangerous. So I walk up to the sidewalk and walk all the way down all the shopping centers.
Gotcha.
A lot of people use it as a nice walk area. So
Sure.
I'm sorry to lose a sidewalk. What will you be doing in the back to the residents in the back? I guess those are townhouses behind you.
Correct.
Have a lot of trouble with the shopping center. What are you going to do to make it nice for the people who are going to be living directly behind you?
There's an there's an alleyway behind us
Right.
right now.
And there's a crummy little fence right there.
Right. The improvement that was made prior to us purchasing the property was they enclosed the trash dumpster. That was an improvement that was made. We might relocate that, and I think we're basically just going to remove some of the concrete structures that are back there that aren't necessary to service the entrance to the building. There will be a single entrance in the back. It will require a single staircase. Right now, there's some additional staircases that will be removed in the process of the demolition.
But your waste facility will be completely enclosed?
It's already enclosed with a beautiful wood enclosure.
Okay. And the rest of the building is just open then, right? There's
Open in what sense? You mean?
I mean, there's no fencing up to your property line?
No, there's no fencing.
Okay.
Where are your staff going to park?
Well, we're going to consolidate some of the staff between the two offices, and we have some staff that commute by public transportation. We have some that live in the neighborhood will be walking, and we're going to try to limit the parking. We're going to try to limit parking in the parking lot for staff. We'd like to use the adjacent spaces for staff, if possible.
So adjacent meaning in the shopping center to the...
No, we can't use the adjacent, but there's two parallel spots that are on the street that comes off 123rd perpendicular, and we'll have those used for staff. And we're going to try to get some carpooling so that we can save those 18 spots for the patients.
I see a parking problem. If patients are in the examining room, patients are in the waiting room, patients alone are going to fill up the parking spaces. What's the requirement for parking in the area?
Well, they're over the requirement according to the code. They need 16. With the two parallel, they have 20 actually.
Right, but they have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 exam rooms, which means they could have up to 10 patients in exam rooms, plus X number in the waiting room.
Yeah, but there's only 2 doctors, don't forget.
Yeah, but there's also doctor staff. And your intent may be the carpool, but you can't force people to do anything they really don't want to do.
The practicality of it is that there's never usually 10 patients simultaneously. I mean, patients are scheduled typically every 15 minutes, so it'd be 4 per hour per room, more or less, if all 10 rooms are going at the same time. And the practicality is that all 10 rooms don't go at the same time. But we have experience from 3 prior offices where we have a pretty good feel for the demands on parking, and we think that the number of spots that we have should be sufficient for the flow of our practice the way it is.
Prior to us, I believe the space was going back was a fairly busy restaurant that had
It's
actually...
never been a busy restaurant. 5 occupants have moved in and moved out. It's never been busy. I wish they would have been, because one of them had really good food. But
yeah,
anyway.
Mark's Place was pretty busy when it was there.
I'm sorry?
Mark's Place, do you remember that?
I do remember Mark's Place.
Yeah,
That's the one that I got mad when they closed, but they were never that. I never saw their parking lot full.
Yeah, I think their occupancy was somewhere in the neighborhood of 70, maybe, something like that.
But actually, Michelle, restaurants require more parking than doctors' offices, you know?
The other point is that our office is not a walk-in clinic, it's by appointments.
Okay.
So we have the ability to stagger patients and modulate the flow of patients and traffic through the office, which we've been doing
So if you saw a parking problem, you guys would adjust how you operate to ensure that your patients aren't inconvenienced?
Sure.
They would have to, or they would have very
We'd have
unhappy
to.
patients.
Yeah, that's the one. Patients patients complain about very little except having trouble finding a place to park.
And this space actually provides a nice convenience for patients because it's free parking as opposed to other
Hospitals that
offices
charge
and
for
hospitals where
everything,
it can be fairly expensive.
Any other discussion?
No,
Would someone like to make a motion?
I make a motion to approve.
I second.
Seconded by Mr. Mondesir. Roll call, please.
Ms. Phillip,
Yes.
Ms. Garcia,
Yes, because I trust them. They're doctors. They better get this.
Ms. Keys,
Oh, yes.
Mr. Mardy,
Yes.
Mr. McDermott,
Yes.
Mr. Mondesir.
Yes.
Thank you.
Good luck, gentlemen.
And I really hope I never need you, knock on wood.
Welcome.
Orthopedics, no.
Thanks very much.
Thank you.
None of us come
I
this
hope
year.
none of us
None
ever
of
need
us
you.
leaves. None of us.
Is there another case?
No.
No, we're done.
No?
It's supposed to be V15, but V5?
No, that's it.
That's it.
The applicant's here, but he's not being
I have some old business and new
Uh,
business, though.
V513, is that, it's written on there.
Oh, I should have done it under, do we have amendments to the agenda?
Yes.
Yeah, I should have
asked.
told you.
Should have been amended? Okay.
That it was going to be continued.
Thank you.
Actually, we're probably more than likely, we've been doing the meetings every other month, you know, but we're probably more than likely going to have a meeting in March, which is March 20th.
Let me tell myself that now.
Would it be more than just one item?
Possibly, but not likely.
All right.
Is that when spring break is?
Yes, that's looking like.
Can I use my phone to check the Miami-Dade County calendar?
That's looking like
There's no other matters present other than
Wednesday.
Okay.
The
Give
Holy
me a
Week.
moment.
That's gonna be the Holy Week.
Miami-Dade.
Yeah, I think it is.
Yeah, I think
Hold
it's the
on.
Holy Week.
Miami-Dade
It's spring break.
schools.
After St. Patrick's Day.
Is it after?
Yeah,
St.
St. Patrick's on the
Patrick's
17th.
on a Sunday.
So
I will tell you right now.
Yes,
In the
St.
meantime,
Patrick's Day
any
is
old
Sunday
business?
the 17th. Yes. Something just made me think of this, something we were talking about, but remember, Carol, when you asked about the Wendy's and the LA Fitness and the competing ingress, egress points, and, you know, all that stuff. Anyway, I just wanted to let you know that the engineer looked at it and he thinks it's fine. Now, what we did find is that their curbing is actually into the right-of-way. So we did tell them that they have to push the curbing back inside their property line. That way it'll give a little more room on that 18th Avenue road / alley, whatever it is.
Yeah, because, you know, I drive down there, and like tonight, people are like flying through those parking lots to get to the alley. I mean, they're flying through there. The road is barely wide enough for 2 cars, and there's pedestrian walkers, there's bicycles, and there's no place for the pedestrians to walk, by the way. You can't walk, you can walk on this little curb, you can't walk in that, you know, there's like this much grass. That street is a nightmare. And the people are speeding back and forth all hours of the day. It is really a nightmare, and we're about to create a big problem there. So I'm glad you're moving the curb in, because it's just not adequate width there. A person cannot walk, and you're walking in the street, and the cars are flying down, and it's very dangerous. Putting you all on notice.
We drive around with a lot of dangerous people down here, don't we?
Well, they're going to have
It's
to.
crazy.
I'm going to make recommendation to Public Works that we get some speed bumps on that road.
Oh, that might be
would
good.
a great idea.
Because they are flying down there, and it really is not wide enough for 2 cars. And I walk on there, and you can't walk on there. And the bicycles, and it's really gotten crazy. And like tonight, I was driving down there because it is a way out of the neighborhood, and the cars are flying through like Wendy's and the neighboring parking lot to use it as a cut through. So I'm just kind of alerting you that if you have anything to do with speed bumps or anything back there, we need to do something. Thank you for the update.
Any other old business?
Spring break starts March 22nd and it goes through March 29th. So we're okay on the 20th, at least for public schools. I'm not sure about other schools. So those of us who may have.
Well, religious schools are usually off the week after
I
Easter,
have little kids anymore.
which is like March 31st.
Okay. Well, I have something for old business. I do like to thank my colleagues here for electing me chair in my absence. Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you. I don't know if I'll like it so much.
And on behalf of staff, thank you to our outgoing chair who's been so wonderful for so many years.
Thank you, Carol. Just nudge me.
A long time.
I learned from her.
I feel like I'm on vacation over
She
here.
was just happy. You know? Maybe I should be sick and, oh no, then that falls on you,
no.
Michelle.
That's okay. I'll just have Carol nudge me instead.
Okay. Any new business? None?
Motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second?
Move the second.
All right. All those in favor?
Aye.
Enjoy it, guys.
Thank you.
Let's hope they're all so easy.
Uh-oh.
Let's hope. Let's hope.
Thank you.
It makes it all worthwhile.
Those brownies were delicious.
Yeah, remember?
Yeah.